Hello everyone, welcome to A Clear Perspective. I'm Serene. Today we'll talk about the latest developments and a message from Ivanka about President Trump. It didn't get much attention, but is worth talking about. The biggest headline from Monday was President Trump's executive order, which declared a state of emergency in Washington D.C. According to the order, President Trump declared, quote, "An emergency exists in the District of Columbia and ordered the federal assistance to supplement the district's response efforts due to the emergency conditions resulting from the 59th presidential inauguration from January 11th to January 24th, 2021. This triggered a lot of speculation on the internet. In terms of the executive order itself, this is just a routine arrangement during the presidential transition. One interesting point is that when referring to the presidential inauguration arrangements, 59th presidential inauguration is used instead of 46th president. These two terms actually have different meanings. President Trump is the 45th president of the United States, who served the 58th presidency of the United States. Most presidents have served 2 consecutive terms, so these two numbers are different. If the executive order used the 46th president, it is clear that a different person will be the new president. But if the expression 59th inauguration is used, it does not tell us whether there are any changes. It seems that President Trump still refuses to acknowledge the legitimacy of Biden as the elected president. I think this is what the left is deeply worried about. The Democrats are actively pushing for President Trump's impeachment. Nancy Pelosi has been pressuring Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove the president from office. Although Pence has previously refused this request, Pelosi gave Pence a final warning on January 11th. If Pence does not take action by Wednesday, January 13th, the House will proceed with the second impeachment against President Trump. But judging from the media coverage of the Trump-Pence meeting on Monday, it is clear that Pence ignored Pelosi's request. According to reports, it was the first time Trump and Pence met since January 7th. The two are said to have met in good spirits as they reviewed their achievements over the past 4 years together. They both agreed that those who stormed the Capitol last week does not represent the America First movement backed by 75 million Americans. This is interesting because it clearly separates the few lawbreakers from the larger pro-Trump group. In the current situation, this distinction is significant. Why is Pelosi so eager to launch an impeachment against Trump when there's only about a week left? Even constitutional experts are divided on this issue. Some experts believe this is unconstitutional. The Senate is currently in recess and will not resume until the 19th. This makes it impossible to go through the entire impeachment process before the inauguration on the 20th. Once the handover is complete, Trump will no longer have the presidency. There is no constitutional provision for impeaching a former president. However, there is also a view that the impeachment process was initiated during President Trump's term. So, even after he leaves the office, the Senate can still complete the process. The main purpose is to prevent President Trump from running for the presidency again. Chuck Calesto, the former candidate for Florida's 3rd congressional district, sent out a message on January 11th. He said, quote, "Democrats are drafting legislation to criminalize Trump rallies, classify them as domestic terrorism. In other words, if this legislation is passed, it would mean that the largest political opposition to the Democratic Party won't be able to hold rallies. This massive group of people will no longer have freedom of speech, assembly, and the press as granted by the First Amendment. We all know that the MAGA movement, which originated with President Trump, has become an influential political idea in America and in the international community. This influence will not disappear after Trump leaves the office. Pompeo continuously tweeted the America First pictures. Many politicians also agree on this idea and are working on putting it in action. So, this is what the leftists are most afraid of. They have exhausted all means of driving President Trump away, but their nightmare is not over. Their plan to a totalitarian and socialist America could still be interrupted at any time. So, to eliminate all obstacles, their plan is to launch a political cleanse that would outlaw the entire MAGA movement. Only by completely cutting off this movement will they be able to continue their socialist agenda. In other words, they must label MAGA as an illegal, violent, terrorist, and fascist movement. Then they can take legal actions against it. Those who have lived under the authoritarian rule of the CCP are quite familiar with this. Once a target group is labeled as counter-revolutionary, or in this case, fascist, racist, or terrorist, the suppression will be legitimized. That is what the left is doing to America. And the first big step to dehumanizing the MAGA movement is to impeach President Trump. This time, the impeachment is supposed to be for, quote, inciting the riot at the Capitol. So, if an impeachment does get passed, the link between the MAGA movement and the terrorism will be cemented. After that, it won't be hard to ban all MAGA rallies. This is why President Trump and Vice President Pence met and agreed to condemn the individuals that violently stormed Congress, separating them from the 75 million MAGA supporters. With this, it is very unlikely that the impeachment will be passed by a two-thirds majority in the Senate. In this sense, the main purpose of the meeting is to prevent the MAGA movement from being used by the left to expand the political struggle. Currently, there have been many rumors related to the Insurrection Act spreading across the internet, some of which are quite intriguing. It is hard to keep up with all of it. That being said, I want to discuss the message that Ivanka Trump sent on Telegram. First of all, I do believe that the account that sent this message is indeed Ivanka's. This account has posted several photos in celebration of Ivanka's husband Jared Kushner's birthday. The message sent at 1:06 p.m. on January 8th says, quote, President Trump has suggested to aides he wants to pardon himself in the final days of his presidency, according to two people with knowledge of the discussion, a move that would mark one of the most extraordinary and untested uses of presidential power in American history. He has also become increasingly convinced that his perceived enemies will use the levers of law enforcement to target him after he leaves office. No president has pardoned himself, so the legitimacy of prospective self-clemency has never been tested in the justice system, and legal scholars are divided about whether the courts will recognize it. This message seems to suggest that President Trump is preparing to leave office. Supposing that the president is able to pardon himself, what about his family, lawyers, aides, and supporters? I feel very concerned that President Trump, his family, and his supporters may be facing a dangerous situation after January 20th. The 2020 election has been a wild ride. For those who've never experienced communism and socialism, they have now seen how evil these ideologies can be. They have also seen the leftist agenda The blatant lies made by mainstream media and the big tech, the manipulation of power within the government, and the inaction of the judicial system. Many were shocked to find that American society has unknowingly degraded to such an extent. More than 200 years ago, the Founding Fathers laid down a comprehensive democratic system for us. The social standards were set by a group of people who believed in God and morality. Today, democracy has become a mere slogan. The general public were brainwashed by the media. Voters became deplorable in the eyes of the elites. I am not too optimistic about how things will turn out. I don't like violence, and I don't want a civil war. No matter how complex society becomes and how many crimes are committed, we have to persevere in our kindness and beliefs. We should be patient and stick to moral principles. When the situation doesn't look optimistic, we need to resist the urge to go with the flow. Eventually, things will change for the better. The darkest hours are just before dawn. If the courts cannot bring justice, then let's wait for a higher judgment to come. Lastly, we would like to remind our friends again that our platform may be restricted on social media. Click the link in the description below to register your email. In case of any unexpected disruptions, we will email you our latest updates. Please also rest assured that your email will not be used for any other purposes. You can also sign up for a separate email to receive notifications from us. Thank you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.